going on? How are you? Hope everything is alright. Today's video, I'm gonna bring to you a connection between crypto, metaphysics, and time. This is a very important conversation, a very important connection that could set you up financially for the rest of your life while also making you aware of what's really going on out here. Okay? So, we're going to start in this book, in this primer called Stopping Time, a 13 Moon Primer by Jose Elgueles, Volume Volton. He came up with the Mayan dream spell. It's a system he developed with his wife in the 90s that has something to do with the Mayan long calendar. And he speaks of, he advocates the going to a 13-month, 28 day, 13-month year. So, in this right here, he lays the foundation for the message as far as the time and having some type of understanding of this fucking calendar, shit like that. And then when you understand the programming of time that they're running, it then brings to light other things that might not have seemed to go together, but they do. So, we're going to get to reading. Listen, just sit back. Just listen. About to put you deep to some shit. What the fuck am I doing? We're going to read two chapters out of this primer, chapter 10 and chapter 11. Like I said, this is the foundation right here. Chapter 10, Calendar is a Program. What is a calendar really? Calendar is derived from a Latin word that means account book. The first day of every month in the Julian calendar, the predecessor to the Gregorian, was called Kalends. It was on the Kalends that you paid your debts and bills. Sound familiar? Gets us back to the theme of time is money. No wonder time is money is ingrained into our consciousness and culture. And that seems to be the main purpose of the calendar we use. to keep track of our accounts, pay our bills, and set up our appointments. We may not think about it this way, but the calendar we use programs us to use it the way we do. But are all calendars like this one? Nothing more than an arbitrary program to take care of business? What about the sun, the moon, and the stars? Okay, let's keep this one point in mind. A calendar is a programming device. It programs the culture of the people, the society that uses it. It creates a feedback loop between the mind of the user and its program. The nature of the calendar determines the nature of the society. And that is somewhat the same with music, but I think music is more the music the society influences the music more than the music influences the society. I think music is a representation of what niggas is fucking doing. But I see the argument for it the other way around as well, though. Okay. But the Gregorian calendar is arbitrary and irregular. You will hardly even ever think about the natural factors by using this calendar. January 1st doesn't respond to any solstice or equinox or anything natural at all. With a program like that, of course you wouldn't think of the seasons or the moons when you use this calendar. It is almost as if this calendar is meant to keep you out of phase with nature. What should a calendar do, you might ask? A calendar should be an instrument that somehow puts you and your planet in a harmonic relation to the moon, the sun, and maybe even the stars in the galaxy. The Gregorian calendar pretends to be a measure of the Earth's solar orbit. That is exactly what is meant by a year, the time it takes to have the Earth go around the sun once. The Gregorian calendar does have a measure of 365 days, the number of days in that orbit, but its units of measure, the months, do not correspond to each other. They are not really a standard of measure, nor do the subunit of measure, the 7 days, correspond to the months. Months and weeks rarely synchronize but run in a haphazard manner in relation to each other. Many people say, what difference does that make? It is easy to overlook an unequal or irregular measure in time because we can't touch or see time. But will we overlook such an uneven standard in a yardstick or a ruler? And if we were to go ahead and try to make or build things with an uneven ruler, wouldn't they come out crooked or sloppy? Maybe after a while we will say, oh, that's all right. We've lowered our standard to accommodate these sloppy constructions. You'll get used to it. We've always done it this way. But would you really settle for substandard measures of objects and forms in space? Yet we put up with substandard and uneven measures in time. Thinking it doesn't matter may already be an effect of accepting so long the uneven measure. If space affects our senses, time affects our mind. Therefore, the effects of a crooked time on the mind may be far more subtle, yet far worse than the effects of a crooked space on the senses. We could all develop a crooked mind without even knowing it. Will a crooked mind see the world in a crooked way and create problems for itself without knowing it? Not only that, we would then think, but see, we already fucking doing that now. We already in the fucking with a crooked mind based off of the fucking shit that they fucking preach to us as soon as we fucking born. Out the fucking womb, they give us vaccinations. They indoctrinating us with fucking religion. These fucking school systems. You know what I'm saying? It's all this shit is fucking. There's so many ways that shit's already going to fuck on right now. Anyway, the fuck. Not only that, but we would then think all of our problems come from some place outside of ourselves. We would always be looking for the problems out there someplace, but never going to the root. We would never have any real solutions either. No matter how many laws we would make trying to control the problem, these laws would still never deal with the problem at the root. This is because a crooked mind is making these problems, and the crooked mind is a function of the crooked calendar. But that calendar is dogma, and so everybody says, so what? Isn't that one of those catch-22 situations? Now that is just looking at the effects of the calendar as an uneven standard of measure. It would predispose the mind to accept crookedness in everyday life. For sure it does. Niggas to this day celebrate July 4th like we wasn't, like black people wasn't slaves, or that wasn't our fucking independence. That was the independence of these white fuckers who decided to leave Europe because they was tired of paying them fucking taxes and shit like that. That was their independence from British rule, nigga. The fuck are we celebrating in the fucking Star Spangled Banner, nigga? The nigga say he hoped the slaves died who helped the British, because that was one of the British was telling the niggas here, if you help us win, we'll free y'all. And so the nigga Francis Scott Keys, he said he hoped that all them fucking niggas who helped die some shit. Like, it's in the second verse, for real. Look that shit up. That shit wow. Fucking Thanksgiving. We know what the fucking pilgrims did to the indigenous people of this fucking land. We know what they did to them. But everybody always sitting around with that fat ass fucking turkey though. Nut ass niggas, man. For real, niggas is nuts, man. Fuck is up with you? Niggas is wild, yo. Alright, we gonna get back to it. No matter what the units of measure might be, a lunar calendar has alternating months of 29 and 30 days. For instance, a calendar is also a programming device. It is like a phonograph record of the mind that plays in year-long sequences. What do we mean by that? For instance, on the Gregorian phonograph record, January 1st is part of the program. What plays on January 1st? Well, in this country, a lot of football bowl games. Then at the end of January, sometimes you never know exactly when it is the Super Bowl. February programs you for Valentine's Day and President's Day. July for July 4th. October for Halloween. December for Christmas and New Year's Eve, and so on. Now September 11th. 9/11 is part of the program too. There are just some of the more obvious examples of how that phonograph record plays during one spin a year. Every time one of those dates draws close, whole segments of the population respond in pre-established ways. There are a lot more programs the calendar plays. The beginning and endings of wars. Veterans Day, Memorial Day, April Fools, Tax Day, Labor Day. The memories of all these events are accumulated according to the dates in which they occur. Then everyone has personal dates that trigger the emotions as memories too, like the day you were born, or the day your son died, or when you got married. Do you notice how some of these big moments are fixed, like December 25th, and others are movable, like Easter? Why is that? Is there any rhyme or reason to that, or is this just like the calendar? Or is it just like the calendar, arbitrary and irregular? You think you have no control over it, but maybe you do. Just imagine a world without April, June, and November. Can you? If you can, then there's something you can do about the time. You can change it by changing the calendar. If you change the calendar, you will actually change the program of the collective mind. Isn't that power? All right, that's the first part. We're about to get into how this calendar is fucked. How this calendar is fucked and what it does. Real shit. 11, time of war, time of peace. Okay. The skeptic in you is still alive and well. You can hear him asking, so we've got a crooked calendar and it programs the mind. Do you really mean to tell me that you can change the time by replacing it with another calendar? Do you really mean to tell me that the politicians will just roll over and the bankers will just cash in their chips and pick up paintbrushes and the wars will all stop? Happily, the answer is yes, sooner than later. Once the calendar is changed, that is exactly what will happen. Because you got to understand, the present day calendar is programmed for disharmony and war. It carries in its program the time of war. Change the calendar and you can change that program. How is that? Remember what we said about a calendar programming the society that uses it, and also how a calendar carries the programs it plays on its users. Think of who created this calendar, why and how long it has been in use. Come on, we need a little history now. History lesson now. You have to realize this phonograph record that is playing our collective mind has been playing for over 2,000 years. That is a lot of memory storage and retrieval, isn't it? So who actually invented this April, June, November calendar? Would you believe it was Julius Caesar? Yes. Before it was known as the Gregorian calendar, it was called the Julian, after Julius himself. Turns out the Romans had a very faulty calendar of only 10 months, and Julius, wanting a way to make a permanent change from a republic to an empire with himself as the first emperor, decided to change the calendar. So to make the change during the year 46 to 45 BC, Julius had to have a year 445 days long. Understandably, that is known as the year of confusion. Julius didn't live beyond the Ides of March of the year 45 BC when he was assassinated for what he had done. They killed that nigga. They killed that nigga. And I'm not saying I'm advocating for, homicide. But what I'm saying is you see how when the fucking government official overstepped his boundaries and did something, he went overboard, ayo, off with his fucking head. And people ain't take that shit. They did not take that shit. The government work for us. They don't control us. Y'all work for us. But there's this invisible energy of power that the government has been given. This fucking fake and fraudulent. Them niggas do not have the control that they think they do. The government for real is a commerce entity. Is based off of fucking commerce. Because that's all the feds is really supposed to regulate is fucking commerce. That's it. The lawmaking and all that shit is for the people, not for the feds. That's why you got states that got so many. That's why all the states got different laws because the people govern themselves. This is what we decide. That this state decide what we decide for this state. This, that, and the third. It's too much oversight, regulation. Niggas is out of control. But that's because that's because the mass conscious agreed to give these niggas the fucking power. Cause they ain't want to wield it themselves, man. Better take that shit back. Be scared of your own fucking self, man. The fuck? But the empire prevailed. Julius was followed by Augustus Caesar, who made a further change in the calendar. He saw that Julius had changed the name of the month Quintilius to Julius, July, so Augustus changed the next month Sextilius to Augustus, August. Not only that, Sextilius only had 30 days, while Julius had 31 days. Augustus wanted to make his renamed month August as long as Julius' month. So what did he do? He took the 29th day off of February, already the shortest month, and added it to his month. That is why August, like July, has 31 days and February only 28. These niggas is so the calendar that's being used, is based off of niggas having ego trips and shit like that. This shit is fucking wild, yo. This shit is fucking wild. So this is how the calendar began. Despotic motives, imperial pretensions, and confusion. The Christians began using the Julian calendar around 321 AD when they added the 7-day week to it. The 7-day week was borrowed from the Hebrew lunar calendar. The Jews borrowed the 7-day week from the Babylonians. The 7-day week never correlates perfectly any of the months, except when February 1st might fall on a Sunday. Then there will be 4 perfect 7-day weeks in 1 month. The Roman Church, as the Christian church operating out of the Vatican used to be called, used the Julian calendar since then. So did the Eastern Orthodox Church, both Greek and Russian. So now, besides the bloody history of the Roman Empire, the calendar took on the programming and the history of the Christian church. Ain't that about a bitch? There is at least one saint for every day of the fucking year. There is too. They got so many fucking saints. It's fucking the fuck. Listen. The history of the Crusades is also programmed into this calendar. Then something happened. The Christians sailed westward and discovered the New World. In a place called Yucatan, they discovered another people, the Maya. These Mayans also had a calendar, a heathen device that was more accurate than the Julian calendar. The Christians learned from the Mayan calendar that their calendar was 10 days off. What to do? The Christians burned all of the Mayan books in 1562. Interestingly enough, 10 years later, in 1572, there was a new pope. He named himself Gregory the 13th and declared that his first act as Pope would be to correct the Julian calendar. 10 years later, 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th had achieved his aim. If you went to bed on the evening of October 5th, 1582, when you woke up, it was October 16th, and not October 6th. Pope Gregory the 13th had made up for his 10 days, and the Julian calendar was now known as the Gregorian. By the beginning of the 20th century, this calendar had become the world standard. Not that anyone had voted for it to be so, but it was because European imperialism so dominated the world for over 3 centuries that this calendar was accepted as the world standard. Listen here, man. These are the true gangsters of the world, man. All you niggas out here who out here shooting each other over bricks, you know what I'm saying? 10 stacks, some bread. Listen, you ain't a gangster until you taking over countries, nigga. These niggas are strong arming and taking over countries, take global domination, nigga. The fuck is you niggas? Man, fuck out of here. By the early 20th century, note, century 100 years is also a concept of this calendar. The biggest war in history broke out, World War One. And a lot of people don't know that the Crusades really ended with that war when the Islamic Ottoman Empire was broken up. Of course, war had been happening all the time since 1582 in one way, shape, place, or another. But the First World War was the first really mechanized war. Then, hardly 20 years later, and there was World War II. That war ended in 1945 with the atomic bomb. Since then, there had been a war someplace or another nonstop. Today, all we know is war, big time. And what is the present war being fought about? Someone that nobody likes, oil, and isn't it interesting that it is taking place where civilization began? What have we learned? Civilization didn't begin. Garden of Eden was in the Iraq area. That's where Garden of Eden is. The garden I spoke about in the garden in the Bible, that was in Iraq and Iran, yes. But there was multiple places around the world that were basically the same thing, because all it was is laboratories. That's where they was doing the genetic modifications at, shit like that around the world. But that was like the main one though. All right, but back to this. The last century was known as the century of total war. Now we have a new millennium. Will this be the millennium of total war? Millennium, like century, is also a word that goes with this calendar that programs us. Millennium, that's 1,000 years. What did we learn in the last 1,000 years? Besides how to kill better and make our environment ugly. What will we do in the next 1,000? What makes us so sure we'll make it another 10 years? At the way we are going today, and something had better change fast. Maybe you don't have to think in terms of thousands of years. Maybe just thinking in cycles of 28 years will help you get the picture. Drinking that good old fashioned motherfucking, not good old fashioned, but drinking some good spring water. Listen, you don't gotta drink a fucking gallon of water every day. You know what I'm saying? You want to drink more, it's really more, I would say it's closer to a quart to a half a gallon. At minimum, you need a quart. You need at least a quart of water every day. At least. Like, that is the absolute minimum. I want to say a quart is like maybe 2 to 3 bottled waters. Like that size. Maybe 4 though. Here, matter of fact, I'm gonna look that up real quick. It's 2 bottled waters. That's the absolute minimum. Absolute minimum, 2 bottled waters a day. Did you know that the Gregorian calendar repeats its program precisely every 28 years? In any 28-year slice, there will always be exactly 7 leap days years. That means there are large 28-year Gregorian recordings that are playing beneath the surface of events. A significant determining point will be a good place to begin to look at these 28-year cycles and see how they're programming us. What is a significant determining point? How about the atomic bomb in 1945? Didn't that change everything? It most certainly did. Or how about the 9/11 in 2001? Let's count in 28-year cycles after 1945 and see what happens. First 28 years, 1973. Now here's something. April 4th, 1973. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City were dedicated. 28 years later, 2001, 9/11. No more Twin Towers. Twin events like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 2 28-year cycles earlier. How about 28 years before 1945, 1917? America enters World War One. 1945, America in World War Two. Are we, after 9/11, starting World War Three, 28 years before 1917, 1888? The Eiffel Tower, world's tallest structure in its time, 3 28-year cycle before the Twin Towers. Do you see how the calendar repeats its program? Do you really want another 28 years of this program? Maybe we do need a fundamental change. Maybe stopping time to change the calendar could be a great opportunity after all, to start over again in a time of peace. The choice is yours. Right. So, he ends off speaking on a very key point on these 28-year cycles. Okay, so 28 years from 2001 is 2029. What's the significance of 2029? So, first off, we can expect something to happen in that year of 2029. Some type of major event. Whether it's catastrophic or not in nature, we can expect a major event in recorded history. So, with that being said, that's important because of this right here. There are, there is, this is, we will go here first. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015. So, the 2030 Agenda, 1 year after our key date of 2029, for sustainable development is adopted by all United Nations members in 2015, which means at this time of this recording, they adopted something 10 years ago for something that was to happen 15 years after they adopted it. Who knows how long they were planning it. But this is decades in the making here. For this major event that's going to happen in 2029. They know what's coming. They've been preparing for it for a very long fucking time. Motherfuckers. They've been preparing for it. Fuck these niggas. But with that being said, so what's going on is this agenda provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future. At its heart are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, which are an urgent call for action by all countries developing in a global partnership. They recognize that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. And these are the 17 sustainable goals right here. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, good education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry and infrastructure, reduce inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible community and production, climate change, life on land, life below water, peace, justice, and strong institutions, partnerships for the goals. So these is their goals for 2030. And so, with that being said, the event, of course, we know it's a planned event, is then going to allow them to go ahead and implement the things that they've been putting in place for years. That's what that does. And so, in these sustainable goals, is one aspect of the event that's coming in 2030, of the event of 2029. Okay. But then another aspect of it is that I want to bring into light is the history of the world reserve currency, because it wasn't always the American dollar. Before it was the American dollar, it was the British pound. The British pound's historical prominence as a reserve currency dates back to the 19th century, when the British Empire was at its peak. This global empire facilitated extensive trade, while Britain played a certain role as a colonial power. The pound sterling, the official currency of the United Kingdom, was widely used in international trade and financial transactions due to the reach and influence of the British Empire. The pound's use in global commerce was further bolstered by the United Kingdom's maritime strength and global trade links. Maritime strength, the fucking navy, the fucking seas, because that's what everything is ran on. The world is ran on maritime fucking law. Not the governments and shit. That shit is ran on maritime law, commerce, law of the sea, not law of the land. It's not a rabbit hole that I went down. I've gone down through, but for the people who have, y'all know what I'm talking about. The British pound played a crucial role during the era of the gold standard, which prevailed from the mid-19th century until the outbreak of World War I. Under the gold standard, many countries fixed their currencies to a specific amount of gold, and the pound sterling was one of the key currencies used for international settlements. The British Empire decline after World War II marked the beginning of the end of the British pound status as a world currency. The United States emerged as the dominant global power, and the U.S. dollar assumed a primary reserve currency role. Yeah, they was able to do that because they did some gangster shit. Because before America, because at first America didn't enter World War One. That shit was going on years before America entered that shit. You know, and what countries was doing was sending their gold because since America was neutral, they were sending their gold over here. Because when the country's at war, that's the first thing you go for is that country's gold. You go straight for the fucking gold first. So they were shipping all that shit over here for safekeeping and shit. You know what I'm saying? And so that's when, and America was over here holding on that shit before they entered the war and all that. And then they did some gangster shit and was like, look, well, since we already got all y'all gold, we just going to back the American dollar by this gold that we sitting on. And we're going to make, since we already holding all the gold of all the countries, we just going to make this the world reserve currency. And that's what the fuck they did. Some gangster shit. But then they did some super gangster shit when they decided to fucking take the American dollar off the gold standard. So not only did they take that gold, but France caught on though, cause France caught on and started asking for their gold back, and was like, "Yo, we want our gold back," cause they peeped that the Americans was loaning out. Like there was like, there's no way the Americans was sitting on all this amount of gold for them to be having all of this money in circulation and shit. So they asked for their gold back. You know what I'm saying? And then that's when all these other countries started rushing in too, like, yo, we want our shit back. And Americans was like, all right, that's cool, you can have it back. But we taking the American dollar off the gold standard, and that's what the fuck they did. So the American dollar's been a debt note since the 70s while it has remained the world's reserve currency. Goofy shit. Fucking goofy shit. This is what the fuck is going on out here. So, with these sustainable developmental goals, and with the way that the American economy is going right now, understanding that these things goes in cycles, the crash of the dollar is here. The American dollar is dead. It's a wrap. Because the United States financial system is based off of people putting themselves in debt. That's what it's based off of. If people aren't taking out loans, you know, things with interest added on, then the American economy it sucks. That's the model that the financial system is built on, and it's about to collapse. Whatever this event is going to be in 4 years from the recording of this video is going to collapse the American dollar. So, back to the sustainable digital goals. Okay. We got progress reports. I'll put a link to this in the description. But what's important is this right here.
It's the global mobile data.
Here we go. I'm going to show you this tweet from 2022. Where can we find the best investments for the next 10 years? Simple. We need to look at where the world's wealthiest actions groups plan on $7 trillion to receive their vision of a new world. Luckily for us, they laid it out in their SDGs for 2030 agenda. In September 2015, 190 countries of the United Nations endorsed 17 developmental goals to be attained by 2030. The SDGs provide a common and agreed upon framework to advance the world's future by resolving our most pressing sustainable issues. Okay? In this report, the following report from the ITU, an agency of the United Nations, lists the various use cases of distributed ledger technology and significance of it in the attainment of the sustainable digital goals. Meaning crypto plays a major part in achieving this agenda for 2030. Connectivity, internet, and digital solutions are essential for successfully achieving nearly all of the SDGs. You see what they talking about? You see. You see. I will put a link to this tweet in the description as well. So, bring all this shit full circle, right? We done seen that they fucking with the time. Alright, they fucking with the time. So it's like understanding that they fucking with the time to use it to their advantage. We can use it to our advantage as well. Understanding that it's a program that runs on cycles, not on randomness. It's a program. So with that being said, then we also seen that, you know, United States dollar wasn't always the world reserve currency, and it's not always going to be either. And so we see that they got an agenda for 2030 that they've been planning for at least 15 years now. And we see that digital assets are essential to them achieving those goals. So while crypto might not be the destination, it is part of the journey. And so I advise you to start doing your research. You know, and I guess in these videos you gotta say this is not financial advice. But for me, you know, I'm getting XRP, H bar, XLM, Stronghold, Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision. There's a couple others. And I advise you to you do the same. Get you a cold wallet, your seed phrases, your votes, put it up, learn how to use it, and invest. You got 3 years. You got 3 years. Stay in pursuit of the end of anything that keeps you from being your authentic self. To the next episode.